All right, so here we are. We are 5 phases down in the battle for Bharat. 2 more phases to go. The national capital will be voting on Saturday. And then, of course, you have the last phase, which will happen on the 1st of June. Is 400 par for NDA and 370 for the BJP a done deal? Or is there some scope for a surprise for the India alliance? But more importantly, what is at stake in this election? If Mr. Modi were to win a 3rd term, it'll be the first time in the history of India since Jawaharlal Nehru that an incumbent Prime Minister is being voted back to office for a 3rd term. What does this mean for India, particularly for young voters in India, and what is at stake in this election? Joining me now is one of the most articulate spokespersons of the government, somebody who is articulating Mr. Modi's view, certainly on foreign platforms and now increasingly on domestic platforms, the External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar. Thank you very much for joining us. So this is an interview where you're donning a politician's hat and less maybe a foreign minister's hat. You've been campaigning for your party across the length and breadth of this country. Would it be right to say that this whole campaign, this whole election is about Modi ki guarantee on the one side, and the opposition is saying Congress ki guarantee or India Alliance ki guarantee on the other side? Why should the voters of India, particularly young voters, buy the Modi ki guarantee as opposed to what the Congress or the India Alliance is offering?
First of all, good to be with you, Zakka. And I think, if one travels across this country during election time, there's a lot you learn, lot you pick up. Often the perspectives are very different from what they look from Delhi. And some of that at least I'd like to share with you. Is this election about Modi ki guarantee? Absolutely. Because in a way, you have Prime Minister Modi, 2 terms, 10 years, solid track record. So the credibility of the guarantee derives from the credibility of the track record. Okay. Equally, where other people's guarantee, because there's not a single guarantee out there, there's a gaggle of people out there, each one of them, in fact, very often they pull in very different directions. About the only guarantee that they can suggest is, look, if you get, somewhere support us, we are different. I mean, there's nothing beyond that which actually unites them. So I would say the issue before the country is based on the track record, based on the aspirations, because one is the 10-year track record, the other is what we are also putting to the country, the goal of Viksit Bharat, next 25 years. It's only a Modi government which can get us moving in that direction. Okay. So I think the choices are pretty clear. The choices are a 10-year track record and a 25-year journey and an optimistic, confident vision of India. I think what the other side is offering is frankly a very poor track record, many track records in fact of
60 years
varying quality, most of it not so good. And also I would say in a way they don't have a vision. Okay. They actually are evoking fears. They are evoking, if you do this, this will change, that will change. So I think it's a vote both for the achievements as well as for the aspirations.
So tell me about this vision that you're saying, Viksit Bharat in the next 25 years, 2047. What is in it for a young voter? If a young voter in Delhi or Mumbai, or Mumbai is of course voted, but in Delhi or in Chandigarh is watching this program, what is in it for them for the next 25 years?
I don't think, Zakka, it's only in the big cities. Okay. I think it's across the board for all young voters. Okay. And for the young voters, number one, they will remember, someone who's, let us say, 21, they will need to think what has changed in the last 10 years or the last 5 years in their life. And I think they would give a lot of credit there to Prime Minister personally and to his government. So there's in a sense you can say the past. Then there is the present. There are a host of challenges, opportunities. Who is best geared to take them forward? So clock starts ticking June 4th. June 4th, you're off the block. Who's ready to lead? who has a pathway, who has a plan, who has the experience, the credibility of delivery. And then there's the future, because we are talking of people today who would be below 30.
Yeah.
In their lifetime, in their working lifetime, they will realize what it means to be Viksit Bharat. They will see this country go to become a 30, 35, 40 trillion dollar economy. Okay. And so, and to them also the opportunities which may not be readily understandable to someone much older. There are new industries coming up there. The AI will be both a disruptor and a creator.
Okay.
You have this whole semiconductor, the chips issue. Electric mobility, is going to not just change the way we drive our cars. It's actually going to create a new industry in itself. We're going to produce electricity differently, consume electricity differently. The Modi government's idea that every house will have a rooftop solar.
Correct.
Think of the implications of it. Think of the jobs coming out of it, or the benefits to the individual household. So I think for the young voter, my message would be, look at the track record. Look who's ready to move as soon as elections are done. Who do you trust? Who do you think is most capable of understanding your aspirations? And 3, who has a vision of the future? And then let me add one thing as a foreign minister. The world's a mess. The world's going to be a bigger mess. Now, because look, you're seeing multiple conflicts, tensions, you name it, it's there. If in this stormy sea, whose hand do you trust on the tiller of the ship that is India to navigate us through this? If you are, I give you a very interesting example from my experience. It's happened to me a few times in Orissa, in Maharashtra, in Rajasthan. Families have come to me to say thank you for what we did for them, for the person concerned, or for family member in Ukraine. I ask people, imagine if a crisis like Ukraine happens again, which probably will, given what's happened. So tell me, your son, daughter, niece, nephew, brother, sister is stuck there. Who would you trust leading the country, making those judgments? Who will bring back your kid? Do you look at those people on the other side? Do you have that confidence in them?
And they said?
I think you know the answer.
Okay, but I want to talk a little bit about this young voter, because the other side is saying it's exactly this same young voter who is most concerned with the Modi government, or who's most affected by the Modi government, because Rahul Gandhi says unemployment is at a record high. That's the #1 issue of this election. How do you counter that?
Well, I'm not sure how much Rahul Gandhi knows about the employment market. He's never had to look for a job. But put that aside. Tell me one thing. You know the numbers which are generally agreed upon. You know that in the last 10 years, the number of people paying tax has more than doubled. You know the big spike in Provident Fund subscribers.
Correct.
You know that 46 crore people are beneficiaries of Mudra loan. Okay. You know there is this 7% growth, but there's this, unlike jobless growth of the old days. Today you are seeing all that construction, 28 kilometers of highway, 14 kilometers of railway, the buildings. All of this is going on. Are these not jobs which are making this happen? So I think this whole idea that, unemployment, see, this is like, first you say unemployment is high, then you say everybody is saying unemployment is high, therefore it must be high. Look actually at the reality. Definitely, I would say people, especially young people, want better jobs. Okay. That's a legitimate aspiration. Okay. But to do that, what do you have to do? You have to create manufacturing jobs. Now, guess what? Who opposes manufacturing in this country? Leading the list is Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who actually has been making fun of Make in India. If you look at the UPA tenure, by the kind of hostility towards business, towards job creation, using environment to stifle growth, even today, saying that we cannot compete with China, we can never, this is a lost cause. So, A, you are exaggerating the employment challenge. B, you are actually doing everything which you have a track record of doing, of actually preventing job creation in this country. 3, the numbers tell you a very different story. Ask people out there in the market, if actually unemployment was so high, why are wages going up in this country? Please tell me. I mean, don't believe me. Look at rural wages in this country, look at urban wages in this country, both are going up. At the end of the day, wages have a story to tell also.
Yeah. So let me come to this election. Now, when this election started in March, in April, from the Prime Minister downwards, your party was saying 400 par and Mission 370 and so on and so forth. But now, none of y'all are saying that. So the opposition is saying...
That's not true, but finish.
Yeah, the opposition is saying that this is a sign that you're nowhere close to 370 or 400 par. Meaning that what this election was, a cakewalk or considered to be a cakewalk 8 weeks ago, that's not the case anymore. The BJP is actually feeling the heat. This is their contention.
See, no election is a cakewalk, and nobody, believe me, as a person who is participating as a politician in a first general election, I've done state assembly elections, it's very, very hard work. Okay. Nothing can be taken for granted, nor should it be. I mean, in my view, in democracy, people have the right. After all, what is this cycle about? This is the time for people to ask you the hard questions, for you to answer, to be put through a grind, to have your record examined. I think that's completely legitimate, and that is what we see happening out there. Sure. When the idea of 370 for BJP and 400 par for NDA was done, a lot of thought went into it. It was not a figure plucked out of the thin air. My sense is you had all sorts of mind games going on round after round. The voter numbers are different, it's very hot, who knows where this is going. Okay, these are political tactics, okay, I am also getting it. Okay. But I can tell you there's a lot of confidence. I mean, we are all plugged into, the BJP system. We have a lot of confidence that we're going to make show a very solid performance. That 370 and that 400 is very much in people's mind. And come June 4th, we'll see the answer.
But let me ask you this, because you've been traveling across, the length and breadth during this particular election, more so. You've been to Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai, all across the country. Where is this extra 70 seats going to come from?
Look, I cannot answer empirically for the whole lot. Anecdotally, I can tell you a bit. Let me talk about the states I've been. Okay. Definitely, I went to Kerala. Yeah. I could see an enthusiasm, and I've been going to Kerala for 4 or 5 years now. Okay. I saw a degree of enthusiasm and kind of energy out there, which I had not seen before. I think we have a strong confidence we'll pick up seats there. Tamil Nadu, I hear from others, but I hear very similarly positive things. I myself went to Telangana. Yeah. Okay. Telangana was like a avalanche. I mean, there was such an outpouring of support. I was in Odisha, where a lot of people both see evaluate positively the record of Modi government, but they also see BJP as the party of change.
Okay.
Now I was in Calcutta, okay, I grant you Calcutta is not the entirety of Bengal, but it gives you a sense, I think there's a lot of confidence will pick up seats in Bengal. I think if you look at look at Andhra, the sense is NDA as a whole is going to do very, very well in Andhra. There's a lot of confidence that we'll pick up more seats in UP. So believe me, those numbers will come, those as I said, those numbers were not concocted out of nothing. I think there was a calculation at play. There is a target to which people are working. That target has been broken down into states and ultimately into constituencies.
Yeah.
So people in our system, we know, or we have a sense of exactly which are the ones where we really have to put in all that effort.
So one theme in this election, both from the BJP side as well as from the India Alliance side, has been about reservation and quotas and so on. The India Alliance has been going on and on about why does the Modi government need 400 par. The moment they get 400 par, they will amend reservations, they will take away reservations from Dalits, etc. To which the Prime Minister and other leaders in your party have been responding by saying it's actually the India Alliance that wants to do this. They want to take.
Which have done it.
Yeah.
Which have done it in universities. They've taken minority universities and removed reservations.
Jamia Islamia being
right.
one instance. But on a broader thing, the examples of Andhra Pradesh, the examples of Karnataka being given, that they will take away quota from OBC and give it to Muslims. Now, the opposition is saying, again, Mr. Modi's government is resorting back to its one calling card of Hindu-Muslim because he's not confident about this election. That's why this whole business about quotas.
Let me make a set of points here. Number one, why does the opposition, particularly Congress party, talk about changing the constitution? Because they have done it most of all. 80 odd amendments have been done by them. Okay, whenever they had numbers, and we saw how they behaved during emergency. So in a sense, they think that because they behave in a certain way, other people will behave in that way. Sorry, we are not them. First issue. Second issue, you asked me reservations. Look, the BJP is very, very clear. The BJP is committed to the reservation, the practice and tradition of reservations that we've had, and a lot of it derives from the constitution. Okay, who are the people who have tried to change it? Who has taken away from OBC? Who has brought in religion, faith as a criteria of reservation? Not the BJP. It is the Congress party. They have attempted it. The courts have struck it down. They are still trying it in Karnataka. You yourself mentioned an institution where they have used the minority argument to actually do away with the reservation argument. If anybody has threatened reservation, you can see the record bears it out. Now, if you are going to actually advocate faith-based reservation, I am entitled to contest that and challenge you.
Of course.
That's not being communal. In fact, I will tell you what is being communal. Attacking Sanatan Dharma, which is what we saw DMK doing and everybody else going along with it. That is being communal. Attacking Ramakrishna mission is being communal. So, look, it's like, let's be straight here. Is attacking the majority religion of this country not being communal? Because it is a majority religion, others are supposed to get a free pass? I think I have every right to contest that. So we are, to expect us to be silent, because in this election, we have heard from, especially from Congress, two very important ideas, and the country needs to reflect on it. Idea number one, that you should have faith-based reservation, which obviously will be at the expense of currently existing reservation, and they have a track record to show they mean it. Number two, they actually want to do this. I will assess assets across the country, and I as the state will have the right to redistribute it. Now this is going back to pre-92.
Yeah.
This is Avadi Resolution 1955, Nehru, distilled Nehru leftism, which ruined the country, brought us to the sorry pass of 91, 92. So what you have, I must say, in fairness to Rahul Gandhi, he is offering a clear vision. He is offering a vision of faith-based reservation. He is offering a vision of leftist redistribution of the socialist policies which destroyed this country, which killed job creation in this country, versus the vision we are offering. And I think in politics it's fair to debate it. We put our points across vigorously. I think people are entitled to hear our point of view.
So let me come to the other issue, and since we're talking just before Delhi votes, the big talking point here is the Chief Minister, the fact that he was arrested, now he's been given bail to campaign. He says, jail ka jawab vote se. And this is a consistent theme. Other parties in the opposition have also been saying that you use agencies like ED, IT, CBI disproportionately against the opposition, and that democracy is under threat, that opposition is under threat.
Look, let me make 2 points here. I think a lot of this Prime Minister himself has answered. But Zakka, there is also a fact. Let's look at this particular case. What is this whole thing about? This is about the liquor gate. When did liquor gate start? Didn't start now. Been going on for some time.
Yeah.
When did people start getting arrested for liquor gate? Not now. Been going on for some time. Who dragged it out? The gentleman concerned. So, there was no intent on the part of the central government to time any of this. And can it be, can you take a view to let democracy flourish? Please overlook a scandal like Liquorgate. Is the law to be held in suspension for some people because they happen to be standing for election? In this case, they are not even standing for election. They are
just campaigning.
They are just campaigning. So look, at the end of the day, the law is the law. You cannot press the pause button on law. And if the case had no validity, then the courts would have acted differently.
Yeah.
What have the courts done? Okay, the courts in many cases, let's assume these are political cases. Then the courts would have said, okay, there is not enough evidence, we are giving the person bail, and we will see later on. But the courts are not doing that. In many cases, bail has been denied. Even in the case of this gentleman, he has been told up to this date, okay, you have to allow you to campaign, we are giving you which means the court themselves are not convinced that prima facie there is no case. On the contrary, they seem to think prima facie there is a case.
No, but the larger point that the opposition is making is A, this use of agencies disproportionately, and 2, that it's not a level playing field. This election, you've frozen their finances, BJP gets all the money, all the electoral bonds, and then it's a non-level playing field in this election.
No, look, it's like this. If you look at any of these criteria that you use, in fact, even if you look at the electoral bonds, I think numbers have been put out there.
Yeah.
Yes, the BJP gets the most money. The BJP happens to be the biggest party. Now, surely it cannot be that the smallest party will get the biggest money and the biggest party will get the small. There will be some correlation between the volume of the bonds and the size of the party. But if you take the totality of the opposition, please see, in fact, I'll put the opposite question. If you all had problems with the election bonds, why did you go and then accept that money? Because all of them have accepted it. Congress party has accepted it, TMC has accepted it.
DMK has accepted it.
DMK, yes.
So let me come to another issue, and this again, time and time again, and especially on TV debates and studios, you've heard this a lot in the last 5 phases, is that the voter turnout has been depressed, that the voter turnout, the BJP voter is not coming out. If there is great enthusiasm, as you say, for Mr. Modi to get a third term, why is there depressed voter turnout? And the opposition is saying this is evidence that Mr. Modi is on shaky ground.
So let's look at the proposition, because there is the these are those little clever games which are being played. So what's the difference between previous elections and this elections? In the first round, between 2019 turnout in the same states and this, about 3%?
Yeah,
2%?
Yeah.
Compared to 2014, about the same?
Yeah.
Would you say, it narrowed further in second round? It narrowed further in third round?
Yeah.
Fourth round, on par?
More or less the same.
Fifth round, in some places, increase? Okay. Now, first of all, this canard that there's some big change out there, the numbers don't bear it out. I mean, a 1%, 2% change happens in elections. Okay, number one. Number two, what makes anybody think that it's the BJP's voters who haven't turned out? How do you know that? On the contrary, we are the people, we are a cadre-based party, we have committed votes. We're not looking, we're looking quite comfortable and confident.
I mean, your feedback is your voters have come out.
Yes.
Okay.
So, we're not, first of all, we think this voters number is vastly exaggerated. Number two, and it has multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Number two, we have no reason to believe our voters stayed back.
Stayed home. Okay.
Number three, see what happens. What is if you ask me today, what is the mood today? I think in much of the country there's a pro-incumbency mood. If I am happy, if I am angry with you, Zakka, I will express it very forcefully.
Sure.
If I am happy with you, I'll be nice to you, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like over the top, being nice to you, because I've already, I'm going to express my appreciation when I vote. I'll press the right button. So I think this idea that look, this time there is less passion, etc. All this, these are all political games at play, because the numbers just don't bear them out.
So let's talk a little bit more about some of these political games, and you have referred to this, and some of this is in the foreign policy domain. The Western media and some of the coverage of the Western media around our elections. Now, you were in Kolkata, I think, last week, and you said that countries which have to go to court for deciding election results are giving gyan on conducting polls. You also earlier said that some of these folks are trying to become active players in our elections. Now, my point is that if India is conducting this election, there are 90 plus crore voters who are voting. Some of these folks seem to have discounted that fact. What do you say to them? The sections of the press that you are saying is biased, whether it is the Guardian report which says, oh, Modi is constructing highways, but where are the jobs? Or the New York Times report which says, India's Muslims in Modi's India, and so on and so forth. What do you say to them? You have 90 crore people who are going out and exercising their franchise. There seems to be a disconnect between the two.
Well, two things. To them, I think the real answer would be given by those 90 crore people on the 4th of June. Okay, I'm waiting for that. Number two, the interim answer which I'm giving is, look, I know what you guys are doing, or what you guys are trying to do, what you think you can do. You think still that this is the old era where you set the tonality and the argumentation. Then your fellow travelers pick it up within the country. Then, the public gets influenced by the way the narrative goes. Now, guess what? It doesn't work like that anymore. Number one, yes, there are segments of my politics and segments of my media which are very attached to you, and you have a echo chamber arrangement out here. Recognize that. But a large part of my system today is thankfully autonomous of you, that it generates its own narratives, it has its own views, it pushes back on many of those things, and often what you think is my negative, they actually think is my positive. So you might try and skewer me somewhere, they are actually clapping their hands and say, oh, great job. So I think people out there are missing some things. Frankly, in many ways, I think they don't have an understanding of what are the changes in India. So I feel in a way we are seeing like a, I don't want to say last gasp, because there will be more, but certainly a kind of a flailing effort by an old business which is overvalues its influence and which honestly in this country has become increasingly irrelevant. They still have their friends. The friends are counting on them. I know that. That's why friends keep appealing to them and cite them. But it's not going to happen.
Let's talk about one of these friends, and you must have followed these comments. Ian Bremmer of the Eurasia Group. He made a comment recently saying that there's nothing inevitable about India's rise, and that India should not take its rise for granted. Do you see this again as part of the same, as you said, friends and friends of friends? No, it's a different thing. Okay.
One, I know Ian for a long time. Ian doesn't get into setting political narratives, at least in respect of India.
Okay.
What he does elsewhere, I don't want to go into. So I think at this point that country, in our case us, should not take its rise for granted. I agree with. In fact, that is why I tell young people, it's your next 25 years at stake. Don't think it's going to happen on autopilot. Press the right button. Make sure this 10 years of achievement is followed up by more and more. Go for that continuity, for that stability, for that good judgment, for that experience. Go for someone who understands technology, someone who understands geopolitics. Someone who doesn't think, doesn't mouth cliches and cannot sustain their arguments. Go for someone who can analyze the world powers situation, can take calls, can take stands, can defend our border, can take action against terrorism, can look at big power competition and say this is India's interest and that's what we're going to do. That is what will make it not inevitable but probable and possible. So I actually accept. I think the rise of India is predicated on Indian people naturally, doing all the hard work, but at the end of it all, also on their choices. That is why this election is so important.
So Rahul Gandhi says development will happen khatakat, 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 almost suggesting that it will be on autopilot. It's despite government.
Well, I think the statement which you referred to says a lot about his understanding and his gravitas, right? I mean, if things happen khatakat in the previous years, why did we have that kind of growth rates, poor growth rates, when his family members were prime ministers of this country? Why is it that today, a lot of the development we are doing today, what are we doing? We are playing catch up. We are playing catch up for long periods of neglect. So, you see, the khatakat itself shows you the lack of understanding. He actually thinks these are all cliches and remarks which will take form on their own, because there is no experience of that. Look, to lead this country, you cannot have a job resume that's a blank sheet and say I want to lead this country. You've got to have done things in this country to lead this country.
You're saying Rahul Gandhi's job resume is a blank sheet. I want to come back to again one more foreign policy issue, because again your party leaders, various leaders have been referring to this about claiming POK and that it will become part of India very soon if BJP is voted to power. Today I think the Prime Minister has given an interview where he has said कि मैं तो बिना वीजा के चला गया पाकिस्तान because एक ज़माने में तो हमारे देश का हिस्सा ही था. Is this some kind of an...
That's not quite what he said. He said मैं लाहौर गया whatever, and he said वहाँ कोई TV interviewer कह रहा था
Yeah.
So let's not put words in his mouth.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, is this some kind of an unfinished agenda for your government?
I think the uh, POK is a long-standing that India's writ should run on POK, which is part of our country, is a long-standing position of the people and government of India and the Parliament of India. The problem is, like people have cheated on the constitution, like they have played games on so many other issues, they make it out as though that doesn't exist and this is something which is a sort of angularity of the BJP. BJP is reflecting and articulating what is the sentiment of every right-thinking Indian citizen. Which one of us does not believe that POK is part of India? And if it is part of us, do we not have a obligation and a sentiment and thinking about it? It's natural. But the issue has come up because, see, nobody wanted to talk about POK because they didn't want to talk about Kashmir. They didn't want to talk about Kashmir because everybody had a cozy arrangement in Kashmir. That cozy arrangement was draining the exchequer here and bleeding Kashmir there. That was really what was happening. Now, once you got out of that cozy arrangement and in a sense integrated and normalized Kashmir, and you are seeing the results today.
This is after the abrogation.
After the abrogation. Now, once you see that Kashmir take off, the valley take off, the POK people are naturally making those comparisons. So, I mean, I put it to you logically that Kashmir itself is an issue where an enormous effort has been made over multiple years to lead this country down the wrong path because there were frankly votes to be had, or so people thought. There was very narrow political interests involved. And as I said, who gained from what cozy arrangements? I think we are already beginning to see.
I do want to get one final word from you about the tragic passing away recently of the Iranian president, Ibrahim Raisi. You were there at the Iranian embassy a few days ago. The vice president was there for his funeral. Do you see any bearing of the passing away of the president on India-Iran ties, particularly in the context of Chabahar, which you recently renewed?
Look, he was a person who had a very positive view of the relationship, took a lot of interest in it, and in that sense, certainly his contributions were very noteworthy. I would also say of the foreign minister. He's a person I had known for some time before he became foreign minister, and I had talked to him recently, just a few weeks ago, when tensions were high out there, and always found him a person with whom one could talk to regularly. But I feel today there's a certain structural strength to that relationship. So we have a strong convergence in many areas. So I think the fundamentals are very, very strong, and I expect that to really be the force of continuity in the relationship.
And finally, this election obviously is being closely followed across the world. It's being followed in New York, in London, in Beijing. What does this election mean from a global sort of perspective?
I think it means a lot. It means a lot because, Zakka, if you look at contemporary electoral politics in democratic societies, very, very, very few people would have been elected back to back 3 times. And if there are people who actually say our numbers, our vote share will also go up very visibly. When the rest of the world sees that, the world is very clinical, very objective, almost cold-blooded in its assessments. When they see a leader re-elected into a third term, if they see that his support in the country has gone up, when they see the achievements of previous tenure, when they see the kind of I would say ambition and the motivation today in the country to progress, I think all of these will be factors in a very dynamic, very troubled, very volatile geopolitics of the day. So I expect actually, my own sense is there are our own investors who are waiting for June 4th. But I think the world is also waiting for June 4th. I myself know in many cases companies who have said, look, let's just wait out the election. But many of them are ready to go today with their India plans. So it could be economic, it could be investment, it would be trade, it will be that desire to partner us. So the Bharat stock will go up on June 4th in the world's markets. That is really what is going to happen. And then, it's up to us to use it really to accelerate our rise. And I think that is why, again, I come back to where we began. That is why it's important for young voters to go there and make their choice and press the button. So, and I have every confidence in their judgment. I don't even need to tell them which button to press. In my heart of hearts, I know what they will press. And that is why, we today are making that effort today to reach out to them and remind them that this is the most basic obligation, most basic duty that they have to the welfare of their country.
So 4 June ko 400 par.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar. Thank you very much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18.
Thank you.